Hello, everybody! Live from the Xfinity mobile studio, this is an emergency podcast presented by Xfinity. Bo Wolf, EJ Smith, as we have new information about the revamped offensive coaching staff. EJ, it's not just Sean Mannion. Who else is joining us?
The Eagles are hiring Josh Grizzard as their pass game coordinator. And I got to tell you, Bo, I have a strong opinion about this hire. We'll get into it, but yeah, Josh Grizzard was
Grizzard.
obviously, yeah, it's going to be a tough one.
Hey, we don't know what this is going to be about. Who knows?
He was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive coordinator last season. Before that, he was their pass game coordinator. He spent extensive time with the Miami Dolphins before that, including a few seasons as a quality control coach for Mike McDaniel. So this is another guy with extensive history with, good leading offensive minds in the NFL, most notably Mike McDaniel and Liam Cohen.
He was in Miami even before Mike McDaniel.
Yes,
got
yeah,
there,
he predates Mike McDaniel. Yes, correct. So this is, an interesting one for a lot of reasons, but I wanted to also point out that he interviewed for the Eagles offensive coordinator job as well. He had 2 interviews, one virtual, one in person. So yeah, no, this is a big addition to Sean Mannion's staff, a quick addition. Obviously he had, had connections in the Eagles building that made this possible. And no, it's an interesting hire very quickly after the Sean Mannion news.
And it is interesting from just the Eagles chose Sean Mannion as the offensive coordinator, right? But in terms of filling out the staff, they brought in 4 different guys for second interviews, and Grizzard is the only one who was unemployed. And so the only way to get 2 of them would be to hire someone else and then add Grizzard to the staff. So that's not to say that they didn't prefer Sean Mannion. Sean Mannion is the guy. They're not gonna try to get around that by picking someone else just to get 2 instead of 1. But this is a nice way to go about fortifying the staff. And I think this is the kind of thing that we talked about a little bit yesterday with the Sean Mannion emergency pod. And obviously we'll get more into this in the full 2:00 show today, is just that when you hire someone that inexperienced, the rest of the staff is going to matter. And to bring someone in who only has 1 year of play calling experience, but does have play calling experience and literally just went through the process that Sean Mannion is going to be going through in terms of doing this for the first time. It was a little bit different because Grizzard didn't have to fully install a brand new offense last year, which you would imagine Mannion is going to have to do. But I think this is encouraging for the Eagles, and it tells you that they are committed to, revamping the process on offense. It's just going to be something very interesting to follow because these are not guys who have worked together before. And, these are Grizzard is, if you want to say the McDaniel tree or whatever it is, but he has different experience. Mannion, we've talked about. I mean, it is true that the list of offensive coaches he played for is very impressive, but he only has 2 years of actual coaching experience. These guys don't know each other that well as far as we're concerned. Certainly they haven't worked with Nick Sirianni before. So it's going to be just an interest. Like I would love to be a fly in the wall in, the month of offseason meetings they're going to have in like putting this offense together. It seems like it will be an interesting process. That doesn't mean it's going to go perfectly, but it's going to be an interesting thing to follow.
Yeah, no, my big takeaway with this is whatever your grade was on the Sean Mannion hire last night, whether it was a C or a B, I think you at least add a plus onto that grade with Josh Grizzard as part of the package in this deal. I honestly probably would go up a letter grade. I probably would have said like a C+ or a B- on the Sean Mannion hire just because there's a lot of unknowns, but I think Josh Grizzard answers one of the unknowns, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. So, like, one of the things that we were going to be curious about with Sean Mannion is how much weight he would have in the room. How much he would have the ability to install a system that is more reflective of a Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur type of offense. Play action heavy. Usage of under center, usage of motion, some of the more modern things we've seen in the NFL. And the thing that the Josh Grizzard hired signals to me is that Sean Mannion will have significant say and weight into overhauling this offensive system. Like if it's not just his voice, that it's going to be leading this charge and with a different offense. I think, Josh Grizzard isn't just like it adds to the indication that this is going to be a big change schematically for the Eagles offense. And I think that's what's needed. So to me, this does improve the Sean Mannion hire. Obviously, it's an important.
I totally agree.
It's an important part of his staff, but to me, yes, it does really bolster the confidence that people will need to have about what it's going to look like next year, and if it's going to look different than it has with past iterations of the Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni offenses.
Yeah. Now let's not overstate Grizzard. He had 1 year as an offensive coordinator.
Sure. Yeah, but I just think it's more about the direction that it shows. Yeah,
I totally agree with you. And it seemed very clear that they were going to have to bring in somebody else, period. Whether that was, a senior offensive consultant, I was going through the list of players or coaches that he had worked with in the past. Gary Kubiak is out there. I don't know if he wants to get back into coaching. But somebody like that on staff. If it's somebody like Grizzard, that's fine. I'm very curious to see how the rest of the staff looks. Is there going to be a run game coordinator? Is Stout going to continue doing that despite the reporting that we've had this week? I told you last night when we were done, I was thinking more about who is the biggest winner from the deal, that question, which I couldn't really answer in real time. And I thought that maybe it was Jeff Stoutland, because Sean Mannion's not someone who's going to come in here and throw his weight around in terms of what the running game is going to look like necessarily, but we'll see what happens there. Yeah, I think this is very interesting stuff. This is encouraging, and it's also I think a fair indication that Nick Sirianni is honest and serious when he says he doesn't want play calling and running the offense to be his main job. He wants to be able to focus on the rest of the stuff.
Absolutely. No, I think that is definitely the direction that the staff is heading in. I'm going to pick out a winner with the Josh Grizzard hire, potential winner. And I'm going to say Jalen Hurts, because I think that there is at least a level of succession planning that's built into this, where, you've got
interesting,
because if you bring in Sean Mannion and the staff stays mostly the same, if Sean Mannion gets poached, and I said this on the show yesterday, and I think, I feel even more strongly about it after, sitting on it overnight. Like, if Sean Mannion does a good job with the Eagles offense this year, he will be a one and done coach, or at least he will have opportunities or, chance to be a one and done coach. Davis Webb does not have extensive coaching experience, but he is in a similar situation. He's not even the play caller in Denver, and he's already got head coaching interest elsewhere. So it's just the nature of the NFL these days. If you are a successful play calling offensive coordinator, you will get opportunities to be a head coach sooner rather than later. Josh Grizzard to me is, a name that if we are there, if the Eagles find themselves there in a year or two, you have someone on staff who will be a part of installing this system and, envision it, having a vision for what this offense is going to look like, and, has play calling experience. So, I think that as the Eagles try to figure out how to navigate continuity, like with Nick Sirianni as the head coach that doesn't call plays, I think that hiring people like Josh Grizzard it's going to be an important step toward that. I think that Jalen Hurts might be an indirect winner down the road from a hire like this.
I have a more direct winner for you.
Okay.
And that would be Werner Herzog impressions. Because between Josh Grizzard and Sean Mannion, we have a grizzly man.
I thought you were going to give me somebody like actual.
No, I need to go to the tape. I need to tune my ears to get a good Werner Herzog impression going. And then I'm excited to have that be a running theme for the entirety of the 2026 Eagles offense.
I thought I could exhale. They didn't hire Jim Bob Cooter. The jokes on the show weren't going to be too crass, and here we are.
Well, this is not crass. Yeah. There's nothing crass about it. It's just, I feel like this is going to have to be something I do at least once a day.
Once a day. Okay. Better get ready. One other thing I wanted to mention is that, the Eagles got a lot of criticism for how long the process took, and, the extensive search that they underwent. But I do think this is the benefit of going through a search like that, because you do end up finding ways to fill out your staff and, again, like take advantage of, the opportunity to hire or interview a lot of different people. So I thought your framing was really good earlier. Like they kind of got 2 for 1 here. And because I'll be honest with you, like, I said it last night before the Mannion hire, I thought Grizzard would have made sense as the OC. So to get both of these guys, I think it really does kind of change the way that I look at the staff that they're building out for sure.
I'll tell you what, I'm not even sure that they're done here.
So who else do you think from their interview cycle could make it in? Like a senior offensive assistant, like
Matt Nagy doesn't have a job.
Yeah, so you bring him in as what are you gonna make him quarterbacks coach?
I was thinking more senior offensive consultant.
Yeah, I think they have space to add somebody. Yeah, like a senior offensive consultant. I agree. I think that they will explore those for sure.
Because there's maybe 2 or 3 OC jobs left, depending on the 2 open head coaching jobs, and then maybe if somebody leaves an OC job for one of those jobs, but it doesn't look like Nagy's going to get a job, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's someone who comes on the staff in some capacity.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good prediction by you. The other one that I'm curious about is quarterbacks coach. I was watching some Sean Mannion press conference clips last night, and he harps a lot on footwork, and it's something that you hear a lot about from Sean McVay. Kyle Shanahan influence coaches is how important, Kevin O'Connell's talked a lot about it too. The importance of the quarterback's footwork being tied into the progression and how precise it needs to be. It's not necessarily an area of strength for Jalen Hurts, at least the last few seasons. And I think it's a point of emphasis for the system. So especially like Sean Mannion coming from, the quarterback's coach room, I do wonder who they'll bring in and if it will be somebody that has background in a McVay Shanahan type system.
That's a very interesting point. Interesting to follow. All right, let's let this settle. We've got a full show coming up at 2:00, so please join us for that. We will have Matt Schneidman, who covers the Packers, joining us to discuss the mystery Mannion himself. Fran Duffy is going to check in with his thoughts, and the professor is going to join us. So a lot to come at 2:00. Please join us for that. Thank you to Xfinity for helping us with this emergency podcast. Thank you, EJ. Everybody go back over to the end of the Anthony Gargano show, and we'll be with you at 2:00. Thank you, Lindsay. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.